What's up, people? Ragnar the War Wolf here. I wanted to talk a little bit about weight loss today. So, I came up under the presumption that weight loss is purely calorically based, that it's energy expenditure. It's calories in versus calories out. There's nothing more complex to it than that. And, this seems logical and it makes sense. The problem is, it's bullshit. So, 2023, I had some of the hardest weight cuts of my life. And it was crazy because it was like, I'm in this massive caloric deficit. I'm training 3, 4 hours a day. I'm doing everything right, and my weight just plateaued. And I couldn't break it no matter what I did. I brought the calories even lower, was suffering, was getting injured, was getting sick. Nothing was breaking it. So it kind of got the gears turning in my head, and I wanted to do a little research and figure out exactly what was going on here, what metabolic processes really drive weight loss. What I found was astonishing. Most of our nutritional literature is based on outdated and obsolete studies from the 50s and 60s that were probably shams that were funded by the cereal companies. And so as I started unraveling this and delving a little bit deeper into the nuances of it and the different principles and the different precepts that drive it, what I found was absolutely astonishing. And I'm going to break it down and go into it here. But in a nutshell, weight loss, like anything else, is not just purely calorically based. Rather, it's about 40% calories and I'd say 60% hormones. And the hormone in particular that we're going to talk about a lot today is, of course, insulin. So we got to start with, what is insulin? Well, insulin is a hormone that is secreted from the pancreas. There's these beta cells, and when they detect an increase in your blood glucose levels, the pancreas will secrete insulin. Insulin's a carrier molecule. Its job in the body is to open up the cell walls and to hammer nutrients into the cell. It will carry glucose into the cells, it will carry amino acids from protein into the cells, and it will carry fatty acids into the fatty cells. That's what insulin does. It also has an effect on protein synthesis, so turning amino acids that you've eaten from dietary proteins into muscle tissue, your own protein. And it also has a hand in glycogen synthesis, which is creating glycogen from the molecule glucose. So that all seems pretty simple, right? Where it gets a little bit more complex is that insulin is a molecule that your body can either increase or decrease its sensitivity to over time. The way that it decreases its sensitivity to over time is oversaturation, like eating the Western diet, where every single meal has to have carbohydrates, where we're stuffing ourselves with these highly refined, highly processed garbage sugars, a mix sucrose, which is a mix between fructose and glucose, and then just these carbs that just dump glucose into our bloodstream immediately. There's no fibrous matrix, or there's no starchy matrix to slow down the digestion. So just these massive spikes in glucose, which causes this massive insulin dump. And over time, your body just becomes oversaturated and desensitized to it. It never gets a break for those receptors to become resensitized to insulin. So what happens is, over time, first you develop metabolic syndrome, and eventually when metabolic syndrome gets severe enough and your insulin resistance becomes severe enough, they call it type 2 diabetes, and it goes downhill from there. Then they start prescribing you first metformin and then eventually insulin itself. And obviously, it just aggravates the problem, because the more insulin your body has, the less that insulin works on your body. So you can see how this is just a slippery slope that we would like to avoid if at all possible. So how do we increase the body's sensitivity to insulin? Well, there's two main ways that we can do this that we have any control over. The first one is through diet, either reducing the overall amount of carbohydrates we eat, or perhaps more important would be increasing the quality of carbohydrates that we eat. The data is kind of conflicting on this. I'm inclined to believe it's both. You should decrease your overall carbohydrate intake, or at least modulate it to your level of intensity. For high-level athletes, I'm often programmed 300-400 grams of carbs a day for them, but they're using 300 or 400 grams of carbs in these 4 to 6 hour workouts that they're doing. Should somebody who has a sedentary job and sits at a desk all day eat 400 grams of carbs? Absolutely not. That's insane. So diet And the way that the quality of carbs, what I mean by this is, so fiber has been shown to actually increase insulin action. And starchy carbs, carbs that take a long time to digest, complex carbs, that's your good brown rices, your quinoa, your potatoes, your sweet potatoes, things like that that come, oatmeal, things like that that come from the earth, that are grown from the earth and haven't been refined and processed by some mutants in some factory somewhere. That's the kind of carbohydrates that you want to eat. The ones you want to avoid are refined sugars, basic carbs, some that don't have this anything to slow down the digestion, because you want to avoid this massive spike, right? Now, the second way you can control it is through exercise. Exercise has been shown, and I'll link all these studies, has been shown to increase insulin sensitivity by up to 40% for about 3 hours after you work out. It will also decrease your overall resting blood glucose levels for 24 hours after you work out. The problem with this is it decays over time. So what that means is you have to constantly work out. You can't just work out for a couple weeks and then take a couple weeks off and expect these adaptations to remain. They're not gonna. They're gonna disappear within a week. That's what the research shows. So exercise is and not just any exercise, high intensity exercise is something you're going to have to integrate into your program for the rest of your life if you want to avoid these metabolic conditions that are killing people in astronomical numbers right now. Okay, so we know what insulin is, we know how to increase the body's sensitivity to it, and we know what causes insulin resistance. These are three key principles that we're going to play on. So now we need to talk about energy metabolism. So insulin is released when we eat carbohydrates, right? We're going to need carbohydrates for high intensity workouts, right? Anything over about 65, for sure, 70% intensity. So that's sprinting, that's grappling, that's kickboxing, that's weightlifting, that's basically anything that's really high intensity and really exerting. Your body is going to need glycogen or glucose. Glycogen is a byproduct of glucose. It's the cellular version of stored glucose. It's going to need one of those two energy sources to produce enough, to have a high enough threshold of energy to fuel that type of workout. So, but for everything else, for walking, for studying, for creating content online, for your day job where you go and you sit behind a desk and you're up and down a couple of times, for walking laps, for jogging, for moderate level intensity cardio, for riding your body actually runs better on fatty acids for all of that. For anything under, let's say, 65% intensity level, so 65% of your max intensity, your body's going to run better on fatty acids. So your body can use fatty acids in two ways. It can either liberate them from stored fat, which is what we really want, or it can use them from dietary fats that are already circulating around your bloodstream. This process is called ketogenesis. It's generating energy from ketone bodies that comes from fat. And it's a very efficient fuel source. Actually, people who go on like a ketogenic diet, your mind's much clearer. Your brain actually prefers using fatty acids for energy than it does glucose for energy. It's more efficient for brain metabolism. So you're going to feel good, and it's very efficient for everything other than basically your high intensity workout. So we're going to talk about how we blend all of this together. So in conclusion here, how we blend all of this together is we want to, encourage our body to use ketone bodies, and you undergo the process of ketogenesis and use fatty acids for energy throughout basically the entire day, but really specifically when we're not in those high intensity workout moments where we just need glucose and we need glycogen to fuel them so that we can perform at our best and excel in our sport and excel in our craft in the best way. The fascinating thing about eating dietary fats is it puts your body into ketogenesis. So if you're eating dietary fats, as long as you're not eating them in excess, what's going to happen is your body's going to run out of those dietary fats that you're eating, but it's already in ketogenesis mode. It's already in fat burn mode. So it's just going to switch over to stored fat, and it's going to keep burning those and liberating that energy. So what I found out, basically, I'm going to put my protocol into a nutshell here. What I found out is You want to eat your carbohydrates in a window around your workout. So what I found was 2 hours before the workout, 2 hours during the workout, because all of my workouts last 2 hours, and 2 hours after the workout. This is that insulin sweet spot. This is when your body is hypersensitive to insulin. And so we're going to eat carbohydrates and we're going to encourage that process and we're going to dump a bunch of insulin because we want our body to be able, well, it's highly sensitive to insulin. We want the insulin to be able to carry this energy, these energy molecules into our cell and use them how they're supposed to be used and store what can't be used for the next day, right? So what are we going to eat? We're going to eat carbohydrates and we're going to eat protein. So protein's going to break down into amino acids and it's going to repair all that tissue you're damaging in these high intensity workouts. So in this 6-hour window, 2 hours before, 2 hours during, 2 hours after the workout, you're going to eat nothing except carbohydrates and protein. No fatty acids, no dietary fats. Why? Because our insulin levels are high and our body's highly sensitive to insulin. What does insulin do? Insulin's a carrier molecule. It carries nutrients into the cells. So we want to carry glucose into the cells. We want to carry protein into the cells. But I don't really want to carry fatty acids into my fat cells. I don't want to make myself any fucking fatter. That defies the point of this. So during this 6-hour window, it's high carb, high protein. Then after that 6-hour window's up, you've got 18 hours left in the day. You're going to be awake for another 10 or whatever, throughout the rest of the day. After 2 hours after the workout, we're going to cut off carbs entirely. We'll still eat a marginal amount of carbs, but they will only come from fruits and like vegetables. And it should be like maybe 30 to 50 grams of carbs top. You should not be going crazy with this. Throughout the rest of the day, you're going to just eat fats, dietary fats, and protein. You're going to eat a ketogenic diet, and you're going to get all the benefits of ketogenesis without the side effects, without the inflammation, and without the deleterious effects of not eating carbohydrates. Because you ate a bunch of carbohydrates around your workout when your body could use them. Now, throughout the rest of the day, you're not working out. You're not doing high intensity exercise. You're doing basic shit. You're going for walks. You're going for jogs. You're working with clients. You're doing whatever the fuck it is you do with your free time. You don't need to run on carbs for that. Fatty acids will work perfect. And you want to train your metabolism to burn fat during that time. So what also happens is your body gets a chance to resensitize to insulin because there's this 18-hour window where you're not eating any carbohydrates. There's virtually no insulin being dumped. And so your body gets a chance to reset. And the next day when you start eating carbohydrates again and you throw in the workout, which increases insulin sensitivity even more, your body is resensitized to insulin and the receptors are resensitized. They've had their break that they needed and now they can actually use this molecule and you don't have to haywire and burn out this system and start that metabolic syndrome process that will ultimately lead to type 2 diabetes. So the protocol, again, in a nutshell, guys, it's very simple, but this is a year of research. Again, I'll link all the studies I used to come up with this. 2 hours before the workout, 2 hours during the workout, 2 hours after the workout, carbohydrates and protein, absolutely no fats. As soon as that 2-hour window after the workout is up, you switch over to a ketogenic diet. So fats and protein. Protein to rebuild the body, to rebuild all that tissue that was damaged, and fats for fuel. And you get your body into fat burning mode and let it resensitize to insulin. Now, the cool thing about this is once I started using this protocol, I never had problem with another weight cut. Literally, the weight would just melt off of me. And it's easy to do because you're still eating really, really well. You're still eating a ton of carbs. You're just eating them intelligently at a time when your body can use them. And the coolest thing about this was, so at my worst, when I was having those hard weight cuts, I was in these massive caloric deficits. I was as low as 1,500 calories at one point, which is crazy for somebody my size. And at that energy level, I mean, it was such a absurd caloric deficit, and I felt miserable. I was getting sick. I was getting injured. Once I figured out this protocol, my calories have never went below 22 to 2,500. That's even in the heights of camp where I'm cutting 20, 30 pounds for a fight. The fat is melting off me at 2 pounds a week, which is the max fat you can lose without losing any muscle, just by doing this protocol without even really dropping my calories much below maintenance. So it's comfortable. 2,500 calories a day to me is comfortable. I'm not struggling. I'm not suffering. I have enough fuel to do my workouts. I'm not getting injured. I'm not getting sick. This protocol is absolutely essential. So I've written this out. I have a booklet. If you want to buy it, it's on my website, operationprimalfitness.com. For all of my one-on-one coaching clients, I make all of this accessible to them. It's in my app. You can just go to the document section. You can open this up, download the PDF, and you've got it for the rest of your life. Highly recommend you use it. Like I said, it was a game changer for me. Thank you guys so much. If you like the content, subscribe, like, share it. We're trying to get the word out. And if you guys have any questions, man, drop them in the comments, shoot me a DM, whatever. I love talking about this shit. It is so fascinating. Thank you guys so much. Warwolf's out.